Chuffy deck. Now you're Chuffy talking. Oh yeah, baby. Good morning, Chuffy, ladies and gentlemen, sunshines and Chuffy sweethearts. Welcome to another bloody instalment. I want to say bloody quick shots, because we're slurping and chuffing coffee. I'm going to do something a little bit different today, because I don't particularly want to rest on my chuffing laurels or my chuffing hardest. Because what you don't realise, you know, I usually do my chuffing whiskey reviews, or my chuffing beer 52, or chuffing Kraken, stuff like chuffing and that, I usually do all that stuff. What you don't realise, when you're sat on your chuffing armchair at home, drinking your bloody cups of tea and eating your chuffing hobnobs or your bloody pork scratches, you don't realise the amount of chuffing intensity that goes into those chuffing episodes. It gets dark. It gets, you know, the feeling sometimes is overwhelmingly chuffing intense. So we're going to do something a little bit chuffing lighter today, a little bit more chuffing light-hearted. I'm not quite as chuffing serious as a chuffing Glenfiddich or a Glenmorangie. Is there a chuffing Afterlife? So we're going nice and light today. Nice and light and gently philosophical. I've made a few chuffing notes here. Looking at different angles, we're looking at religious angles, spiritual, scientific, intuition, supernatural. So if we start with chuffing crack off, thinking about it, I don't know what your headspace is on this. I don't know if you're a believer, or you're not a believer, or you're half in or half out, one shoe on, one shoe off. I ain't got a clue. I'm not chuffing met you. I'm staring at a chuffing camera. There's nobody, it's just me, kitchen on my own. So I'm kind of discussing it with myself, really, but anybody who wants to listen, you're chuffing welcome. So if we look at like religions, you take into consideration either your Christianity and your Catholicism. Well, they tend to basically usually start reiterating the same stuff, don't they? You know, we're talking about heaven, talk about hell, potentially chuffing purgatory. Now, if you're looking at it, you can look at it in two ways. If you believe, if your mindset is in this chuffing, ruminating in this particular arena, this particular area, the religious area of heaven, hell and purgatory, I think there's two ways of probably looking at it. You're probably looking at energetic, or you're probably looking at morality-based. Now, the classic one, the kind of fear-mongering kind of angle, if you can call it that, usually talking about morality. And, you know, this is indoctrinated into people. Whether it's true or not, we'll find out, won't we? But sometimes used, I think, to put like kind of literally the fear of chuffing God into people. So, you know, if you do this, or if you don't do that, or you have this, sometimes even they use your thoughts against you. Now, thoughts just pop into your mind. I've had some chuffing crazy thoughts over the years, absolute chuffing insane ones. You know, I remember one time I was doing some chuffing bubble dance with a chuffing hedgehog. My thoughts get quite crazy. So I don't think they should be, it's what you do, it's your actions. If we're talking about a moral ground, it's your actions that are more important, I think, than your thoughts. You can have a thought, what do you do about it? Do you ignore it or do you follow it through? Even if it's like kind of morally chuffing bankrupt. So yeah, what they're saying is, you basically, your life is like scales. All the good acts are weighed up, or the bad acts are weighed up. But in my kind of understanding of it, half the time, negativity's got sometimes more weight to it than positivity. So you're probably going to have to do quite a lot more good things than you are chuffing bad things. I need the chuffing slurps, get chuffing heaven, isn't I? It's because I'm worried about, I'm talking about this stuff, I'm worried about my chuffing self now, my chuffing life I've chuffing lived. Jesus, bloody. Got to be careful. Got to be careful. So, you're looking at it like the scales. You go up to the pearly gates. Somebody's weighing out all your good acts versus your chuffing bad acts, and then you either go through pearly gates or potentially get sent down chuffing stairs. Now, the thing about hell, which is quite alarming, is that they're saying you're there for chuffing eternity. So there's no escape. Even when you go to work, you're at chuffing where you're having a right bad day. Everything's going wrong. You're surrounded by a bunch of chuffing nutcases that's doing the same shit you don't want to chuff in here. But you know, when it gets to 2 o'clock, when it gets to 10 o'clock, I'm chuffing going home, you know what I mean? But hell, persistent, never-ending chuffing, torturous chuffing agony. Don't sound too good, does it? Don't sound like the kind of club I want to get VIP chuffing membership to, you know what I mean? So it does, even if you're not a massive believer in that, it does make you curtail certain ideas or chuffing instincts, you know what I mean? Now, so we're talking about then purgatory, they talk about purgatory as like a kind of almost like a chuffing limbo area where you may go for a certain period of chuffing time. It might not be that bloody pleasant, but once you've done your it could be 6,000 years. People say, bloody 6,000 years? You know what I mean? But when it's over, you get kicked upstairs because you've learned your lesson, they've showed you the error of the ways. You're a bit of a naughty boy, but not so chuffing bad. It's not like you're a chuffing mass murderer or something. They kick you back upstairs. So what I also like to do when it comes to kind of heaven, hell, or purgatory, it's not as actual physical constructs as such, but I like to look at it sometimes. This is what if we're moving in that kind of arena, that way of thinking, I like to think of it more like a kind of energetic. You know, when you do something good, if you're talking about vibration, low-grade acts, bad acts, morally bankrupt acts, negative, nasty acts tend to have a lower, heavier vibration, a bit more of an hellish vibration. And your higher acts, your more kinder acts, or selfless, or, you know, kind, oscillate at a quicker rate of knots. Now, this energy is constantly, as you're producing it, and you're surrounded by it, it's constantly getting tacked onto you. So you end up at the end of your life, or all the way through your life, with a general, all-round wave. You know, a kind of flux, vibration. I said the word 5 times and I forgot it. So you've got particular vibration. So I think when you actually pass, when you die, and if you're a believer in that, you've got a physical body, emotional body, psychological, mental body, and then a spiritual body. All the first 3 are gone. They're chuffing carpet, chuffing worm fodder, worm food. But the 4th one, your spiritual essence, the source, the energetic footprint of your incarnation lives on, almost like indefinitely, but it'll have a vibration. And there's that old saying, like to like. So if it's wobbling nice and chuffing low and heavy, your energetic footprint's going to gravitate towards the darker, more chuffing, sinister aspects of energy. It's going to go to a more unpleasant, energetic chuffing place. If it's vibrating nice and fast, then it's going to go to a nice, lighter, fluffier, more consciously high terrain. So that's the way you're looking at that, the incarnation. Now, your Hindus and your Buddhists and all this kind of shenanigans, they believe in reincarnation. And I've wrote down a few different things down here, possibilities. Do you come back as yourself? Because I've heard that bandied around a few times. You tell me what you think. Do you come back? Because they say that you're perpetually on a loop, reliving your chuffing life over and over. Again, and at first when I had this for, it something concerns me. When I think about my life so far, I'm going to have to go through that again. Chuffing bloody burst appendix and chuffing multiple hernias and bloody squash chuffing feet, working in chuffing shit houses. You know what I mean? It's been quite, but then I think about all the good things, all the friends I've made, my beautiful family, all the chuffing whiskey I've soaked, and I start thinking, I could go through that again. You know what I mean? You got to say, it's like mashed potatoes, you got to take lumps with chuffing smooth, haven't you? You know what I mean? So there's that kind of aspect of it. Do you come back as yourself? You come back as another person. Because they're saying the soul, the actual, because what they're suggesting is, when a body is formed, a physical body is formed, the physical, the emotional, the mental body, the soul comes from the source. It's temporary, it's like getting into a car. Temporarily gets into a car. I think with this particular body, I think my soul, it got into like a chuffing, clapped out chuffing Punto or something. You know what I mean? Some people climb into chuffing Ferraris, but you can still drive a Punto with respect. You can still be aware of road signs and accommodate other drivers. You could get into this Ferrari, this tremendous chuffing, physical chuffing chassis and drive it like a maniac. You understand what I'm saying? So they're saying that this is a temporary construct, and that when this body's died and becomes chuffing centipede, chuffing fodder, the soul ascends back through the chuffing levels, back to almost like a chuffing membrane. And then, depending on how you've lived your life and your karma and stuff like this, how you've behaved yourself, you get sent back potentially into another person. So that's when people sometimes they have these backflashes about lives that they've lived before. This is potentially an explanation for that kind of chuffing shenanigans, you know what I mean? The other one I'd like to look at when we're talking about chuffing reincarnation is promotion or downgraded. So really, if you've lived your life like a complete chuffing turnip, been very self-serving, narcissistic, nasty piece of chuffing work, you could get chuffing. If you believe in reincarnation, you could get downgraded. You know, you could come back as a chuffing worm. Knowing my luck, I come back as a worm and with immediate effect, I'd be alive for about chuffing 3 seconds. I get chuffing gobbled up by a chuffing bloated. Or I'd be bloody a tadpole swimming around and chuffing Gret Gernard comes up and chuffing scoffs me in a one, you know what I mean? And then you get reincarnated as something else. You know what I mean? So you get that, or you could get promotion. You could either potentially get promoted into another human being, but of a night, like kind of Buddha. Because I reckon a lot of these spiritual people are like Buddha or like Jesus. They were very enlightened with immediate effect. Now, usually it takes a lifetime to spiritually evolve and start to chuffing improve. But with people like this, you know that saying when you sometimes see a chuffing kin, he starts talking, you think he's wise beyond his years. It's probably because he's lived. His soul is probably an ancient soul that has lived chuffing many lives and accrued a lot of understanding and perspective and higher level of consciousness. And it's brought through into this chuffing life. It's why you meet some people, it's chuffing complete dunk-offs. So the next time you meet a complete chuffing dunk-off who's doing your chuffing crust and he's talking absolute chuffing shite, just say to him, look, hey, you're all right. You're just a young soul. He's probably just had a couple of chuffing lives. He's probably been a chuffing warthog and then a chuffing parrot or something like this. So he learned to talk as a parrot and then he's come back as a chuffing complete chuffing numpty. But be kind. You know, accept these kind of frailties. He's just a young soul. So we've had a look at the religious aspect, both the heaven, hell, the purgatory, the energy or the morality side of things. We looked at chuffing reincarnation, ghosts, coming back as a chuffing ghost, like haunting people and stuff like this. Sometimes good hauntings, sometimes chuffing bad hauntings. Now, there's many different ideas about ghosts. Sometimes they died in a very, very traumatic way, so fast, so quick, so unexpected before the time, and the soul is confused. It still thinks it's alive, doesn't realise it's dead. So all of a sudden, in its house, there's these complete strangers, because your house has been chuffing sold, some bugger else has chuffing bought it. And you're like, it's a bit like chuffing Beetlejuice. Now, who the hell's these chuffing fatties in my chuffing house? You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. So there's that kind of aspect of it. Sometimes you've got just unfinished business. You know, they might want to come back because they reckon you're constantly severed. Also, when you die, if your relatives or your friends or family members are still thinking about it. I mean, my dad died in 2023 and I fucking love that guy. And I think about him every day. And I've had a few experiences, I think I told you about in the past with my dad. So yeah, I think they're still energetically severed to you and to this world in one aspect. I mean, my dad knows all this now. He's been through all this. He knows the chuffing score. He knows what happens after your chuffing go. So, yeah, so you could potentially come back as the chuffing go. Charlotte always says to me, she says, if I chuffing carpet before she does, and I hope I do carpet before Charlotte, I'm chuffing 10 years older. You know, unless she's 100 and I'm 110. I don't mind her chuffing, passing maybe a fortnight before I do. You know, have a bit of bloody peace and chuffing quiet, you know what I mean? Bloody washing, bloody pots and all this chuffing shite. But yeah, I forgot what I was going to say now. I digressed. I was going to make a good point. Came out with a chuffing dad joke. And me train of thought chuffing gone now. But the way I'd like to probably kind of end this little chuffing thing off is the way I see it. It's a win-win situation. It's potentially a win-win situation. Now, a big school of thought is what they talk about, because a lot of people, they're most scared of hell. One of the things, I don't think this particular, hell can exist now while you're alive. It can. I've been through some hellish experience and people been through a lot worse than me. And heaven can exist while you're alive. You know, a beautiful friend, a beautiful relationship. Sometimes just going to a concert and seeing some beautiful music. It's heavenly. You know, the things you eat, the things you drink, a nice whiskey. Bloody hell, I'm stepping straight through chuffing pearly gates, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'll finish it off because we've had a nice little chit-chat. My chuffing coffee's getting cold. But a little reflection before I sign off. I see it as a win-win situation because it's potentially everlasting life on some level, because they reckon the soul is almost infinite. It transcends time, goes on forever, for everlasting. Or the big sleep. Now, I'm quite happy for most of these. I'm quite happy for most of these, to be honest. Don't fancy the hell. But yeah, you either basically carry on forever and either you repeat your own life, you're reincarnated as another person or as an animal, or so on and so forth. Or was you upset? Was you stressed? Was you anxious? Was you depressed? Was you in pain before you were born? No. So I will presume if all we are is organic material and there is no soul, I think there's a soul person, but say if there is no soul, and basically all you do is you close your eyes for the final time, take your last breath and then you're gone. And there is no consciousness. If there's no consciousness, then there's nothing to worry about, is there? There's no thought processing, there's no feeling, there's nothing. Don't that sound peaceful? So you cannot go wrong. You cannot chuffing go wrong. Right, I was going to say something else, but I think that wraps it up chuffing nicely. So try not to worry. Enjoy your life. You'll either come back as a chuffing toad, or you'll chuffing go to purgatory for about 10,000 years, well, you'll get kicked upstairs, or you'll just have a nice bloody kit. So, see you later, sunshines and sweethearts. Have a chuffing great day and a great life. Catch you chuffing later. Peace.